This wonderful person here is Bob the Teacher Jenkins. Everybody know him? Thank you for lending me your microphone.
Anybody have a tin roof that they have rusty? Did some karaoke last night.
Yeah, I know. The other person that does karaoke is Felicia Slattery. Everybody give Felicia a big, big hand. Felicia was part of my Impact Action team, and there's several members around here from that original Impact Action team. Right there is Odin Sorensen, and back there is Michael Savoy, and also on the faculty, one of the true leaders is Sanyika Callaway-Boyce in the back of that team. Who else is in here from that group? Oh, Ron Capps. I didn't even see it sitting there. Ron Capps is on the faculty. Those incredible people got together and we managed to get the word out to millions of people to help save lives of teenagers, and it was a wonderful experience. And so I had the pleasure of mentoring Felicia, and she has just taken off like a rocket ship. She is a superstar in the rising and ascending heavens. And so, and on top of that, she is a wonderful, wonderful person. So you should get to know both of these people. Now, this Jenkins guy came to JV Alert, JV Alert Live, and I met him there. And basically, when you were just getting started, in a way. And so, this is part of the family, you know, of JV Alert and the events that we put on, and now you're part of the family, and I want you to see the tremendous growth. We have a tremendous content for you, and I'll just turn it over to them, and you'll be wowed and wizardry.
Thank you, Ken. Have a quote for you to start our morning from William Ward. The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires. I want you to think back to a time in your past when a teacher inspired you, said one thing to you perhaps, or gave you a new perspective and completely changed the way you look at your life. If you're like me and you're like Felicia, you have at least one of those types of people in your mind right now. And their name pops out at you whenever you think of teacher, because that person dramatically changed your life. And if you'll humor me, I'd like for you to write down the name of that person, name of that teacher that first comes to your mind as someone who had a big impact on you. And if you have to think too hard, just kind of draw a line and fill that in later. But you should have one solid name, and that person's image a couple years ago, maybe a little while ago, should come to mind. During this presentation today,
a few decades, whatever.
Whatever. We want to inspire you. And as short of time as we have, we want to inspire you and change your life like Ken has changed ours. In fact, we met together at that JV Alert, and great things are going to happen because of that.
So who am I? You guys have seen me, a little bit of me this weekend. I hope you're not going to be tired of me by the end. So there's some images of who I am in my life. I'm a mom, first and foremost. Those are my little girls. That's Grace, the little one who's kind of got the little sullen face, who wasn't so sure she was ready to smile. And that's Miranda with the big, huge, cheeky grin. She's 4, and Grace Ann will be 7 this summer. And I'm also a speaker, and apparently I do hula when I'm speaking. Who knew? And that's one of my real close friends. Maybe you've known him, Ken McArthur. That was at the Impact Boot Camp where we did the Saving Lives, Speak Up, Save Lives. We came up with that there. And apparently I'm wearing the same suit. So that's all good news. I like red. Does anybody else like red? Love red. Yeah. Oh, yay. Hi, red fans. Okay, so, wow, that was good. It's like magic. It just switches. This is me. I always pause when I see that picture. That was me after I gave birth to my little one, Miranda. And you saw her there with the big smiley grin. And This was, can you see she's got a little red hat on with the little, it's a Santa hat. She was born Christmas week, December of 2004. And when I see this picture, it takes me back immediately to that moment, because what led up to that moment was something, it was the worst time of my life, I have to say, because she was born 6 weeks prematurely, and I had a disease called HELP syndrome. It stands for hemolysis, elevated liver, low platelets. And what led up to this was a painful, horrific experience where, a couple of weeks before this, we had just bought a brand new house. Now imagine, at that point in my life, I had my older daughter, she was 2.5. I was married, still am, to a hunk of a guy. And we had just bought our dream house. I was doing my dream job, and the reason we started off with talking about teachers is Bob, the teacher, was a teacher, he'll tell you about that, and I was a college professor. So we're both teachers, that's where we came from. And I was teaching college, which honestly was my dream job. I loved it. When I was a little girl, I was 6 years old, my favorite game was school, but only if I could be the teacher. So, and it just continued my whole life. And I finally had the opportunity to do that and just loved it. I loved it. I was being a mom, I was teaching classes a couple of nights a week, and it was really just a perfect, everything that I ever wanted. So we had just bought our dream house in the suburbs with a big backyard when my little girl came around the corner and she saw the play yard, she said, "Oh, a park!" So it was perfect. It's just a fabulous place. A 2-car garage, so now we could both park in the garage and not have to deal with the snow in Chicago and scrape off the cars. It was everything that we ever wanted. And I woke up in the middle of the night, 7 months pregnant, and I knew something wasn't right. So off we went to the hospital. And that's when I heard about this HELP syndrome. And it was a long couple of days. A lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of scared, frightened moments. And they had to do an emergency surgery when they realized what it was that I really had, because this disease that I had was something that less than 1% of all pregnant women get. So that was the lottery I won that day. And it was horrific. So when I woke up from the surgery, my mind was fully alert, and I couldn't move a muscle in my body. And I thought, I think I'm in a coma. I can hear people around me, and I'm thinking, move something, move something, move something. Trying to move a finger, trying to move a toe. I couldn't move anything. It was beyond all of the pain and the terror that we went through leading up to that moment. That was even more horrific, because now I'm fully aware and fully awake and not able to move a muscle. Finally did come to, and little by little, I was able to recover. This was 3 days after that. That was the first time I was able to lay eyes on my baby, because the doctor said I was within 4 to 8 hours of death. It was a horrible time, to say the least. So why do I tell you that story? Well, because it took a long time to recover from that. It took a year, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And when I did, I looked around and I said, I'm still here. I'm still here. Why am I still here? Why am I here? Why are you here? What is the message that you have to share with the world? Because there's a reason you're here in the world. There's a reason you're here in this room. There's a reason you have impact to make on the world. I realized that after I came out of that very long process. And that's when I decided, I think I need to figure out something to do other than teaching college students how to speak who didn't want to and were terrified and didn't care to be there and didn't want to know anything that I had to tell them. So I said, who can I help? Who needs something? Who can I create an impact for in their lives so they can live the lives of their dreams? And so here I am.
Great story. Thank you very much for sharing, Felicia. I've heard her share that several times, and each time it makes you very thankful for what you've had and where you have come from. My story is a little bit different, a little less traumatic, but certainly not with a silver spoon in my mouth or anything like that. I was born in Maryland and quickly moved to West Virginia after my parents divorced when I was 2. When I went off to college at Florida State, McCormick, the spice company, they paid my entire schooling, $26,000 of scholarship. But it wasn't my first scholarship. My first scholarship I received when I was 3 years old from the Montgomery County School for the Retarded. Because when I had my parents' divorce at 2, I didn't talk until I was 4 and a half. Now I'm talking all the time, but back then it was a struggle to get words out of me. And so I have a letter. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to bring it in the rush to drive down here, but it basically says, "Congratulations, your tuition of $635 has been reduced to $130. You've been accepted into the scholarship program." So we grew up in West Virginia where the most exciting thing to do on a field trip was to go to the fish hatchery, see fish get born. Woohoo! We went to Epcot the other day and they show the fish farms there, and then they very gently say, "And you'll see these featured in the local restaurants." How nice. So early on, I discovered that I like to explain things to other people. What we're going to be sharing with you today is about teaching what you know for profit. You may not recognize your ability to teach early on. Hopefully you do through the course of this discussion and the time that we have afterwards. I discovered it really in middle school and high school with 2 very impactful teachers. And when someone asked me to write down the names of my teachers who very much impacted me, it's Miss Huba and Mrs. Rouse, both at Palm Bay High School in Melbourne, Florida, just about an hour and a half from here. And Miss Huba was an English teacher who rescued me from the abyss of hating to read, hating to write, hating to understand the power of words. She inspired me to think better of those types of things after a few teachers had basically drug it into the ground, called me by the wrong name, just completely wrong experience. That's a different story for another day. But Mrs. Rouse was my math teacher. And she saw for me early on the ability to explain things to the other students who weren't quite getting it from what she was saying. And she had the confidence and patience in herself to know that's okay. She wasn't threatened by that. Other teachers might have been. But what was cool about Mrs. Rouse was she was the department leader, and she was very involved in the county. And she knew when she was going to be out of the school for those meetings. And when she was, she asked me to be the substitute. Now, of course, they had to have the official substitute who just basically sat back in the room and read the newspaper. But I got to teach my peers stuff that I knew. And they appreciated it. They learned from me. Because Mrs. Rouse said that she saw something in me and gave me that opportunity. Whether you take that opportunity or not is going to be up to you. I still didn't think, though, that I had a lot to give in the way of business. You know, when we go into the teaching profession, we figure out that we're just going to not get paid for what we do, and that's okay. And look at us now. I'm doing a little bit better than the average teacher. Well, in the classroom, I discovered this FN F8 thing, and 99% of the other teachers in my building had no clue what it was. I want to help you to understand that there's something in you, something that you know, that you take so much for granted that you could actually teach other people how to do, or it's a little bit of an eye-opener towards what you can teach and that people will be willing to pay for. The FNF8 key, anybody know what that is? Mr. Savoy? Exactly. To repeat for the video, it's the keystroke you use, combination, to make a projector show up from your computer. And so I'd be in the middle of my lesson teaching whatever I was teaching, and teachers would run into my room and say, "I can't turn the projector on. It's on, the computer's on, and it's not on the screen. You got to help me." I'm like, "I'm giving a test here. Can you wait?" No, I got to have it. So just a quick little button. And I took it for granted. There's something that you take for granted that other people value, that they're going to be willing to pay for. Now, I'm not saying that people would pay for the keystroke of function F8. But it gives you a clue that gave to me a clue that said technical things need to be taught in a simplified way. And so my business has been built from that. Of course, teaching doesn't result in much profit. So I started to look around for ways to make extra money. And I found the wonderful world of network marketing. It actually is a wonderful world if you're in with the right company, etc. This is not an MLM talk. But that experience, which was the completely wrong arrangement and combination for me, brought me to a membership forum called wham.com. Anybody on wham.com? 99% of the people on that forum in 2005 were work-at-home moms. So what's a guy like me doing on a work-at-home mom site? I had to build trust. I had to build rapport. And so I decided that the one credibility point, and we'll talk about credibility in a minute, but the one credibility point was that I was a teacher. I worked with kids. Everybody here had kids. That's where they were working from home. So I named myself Bob the Teacher as a forum name, just kind of to let them know I wasn't some schmo coming in to raid their party. And it stuck. Bob the Teacher became this person who showed up and answered people's questions. And it became a lot less about the network marketing company and the this and that promotion and more about answering people's questions. You have answers to people's questions that you take for granted. We want to help you to identify those. Once I discovered that and got a little bit of mentoring, I discovered I had knowledge in my brain that other people would be willing to pay for, or that I could give away for free and connect to somebody else who would pay me for sharing that information with other people. And my final point that I'd like to share with you is something that I'm very proud about in business. You know that a large proportion of businesses fail within the first year, within the first 5 years. I've seen in the last 3 years since I started in internet marketing, businesses come and go, wax and wane. I'm now on my 23rd consecutive month of earning over 5 figures. I'm very proud of that. I'm not making $1 gazillion. Thank you. But I'm sharing what I know. I'm impacting the world. Instead of 130 kids a year, I'm affecting thousands every day. We want to share with you the kind of method and systems that you can put in place where you can take what you know and impact your world, however large or small you wish that world to be. And we hope that in a few months' time, if not sooner, you're a recognized person. And I also want to emphasize that we're up here sharing what we know today, and we're simply explaining what we know and helping you to learn about it. All it takes is a little bit of pride and confidence in yourself and knowing that what you have is extremely valuable to other people.
So why are you here? Why did you come to this event? We heard a couple of people yesterday when I asked, were there any aha moments? Some of them raised their hands and they said, it's the people that I've met. It's amazing. It's amazing. But I'm going to guess, beyond the people that you came here to meet, you want to be somebody's superhero. Anybody want to be somebody's superhero? Even if you, right? You could be the superhero for yourself. You could be the superhero for your family. You could be the superhero for your niche. You could be the superhero for the people who need you. There are people who need to hear what only you can tell them. That's why you're here, so that you can learn how to get your message out to the world and be that superhero for the people who need you.
So we've got 5 points we'd like to cover today. And because we're teachers and we come from backgrounds that emphasize communication and language, we go with the old standard journalism practices of the why, who, where, what, and how. The 5 W's. How did they come to 5 W's? There's an H in there. Crazy, crazy. So our first point is why. And we've kind of emphasized this a little bit already, but we want to make sure you get it. Because if you don't get it, go have some breakfast somewhere, because this is really why you're here. You need to make impact on the world around you. I've talked to many of you. I hope to talk to more of you throughout the weekend. Some of you are doing wonderful things already, and not enough people know about it. Raise your hand, please, if you feel like your message is not being heard by enough people right now. Okay, that's pretty much 90% of the room. Your ability to teach what you know and to rely on that is going to be a great service to you and to your community. Don't try to go learn something new as a business. Take what you already have. Take what you already know how to do and get it across to people who need what you have to offer? How about some leverage?
How about some leverage?
What's it like to leverage your knowledge the way we teach it?
Leverage is cool because what you do is, we're talking about taking what you know and we're getting it out to the world. There are so many ways that you can take what you know, take one piece. And we're going to be talking a little bit later about individual things that we each teach. And one of the things I teach is how do you put together a speech to market your business. We teach, how do you take one piece? Bob talks about teleseminars. How do you take one teleseminar, one thing that you do one time, and not just leave it there? How do you leverage that so that you can create a massive impact, not only on the people that you need, but also on your wallet? I mean, really, let's face it, right? We want to have 23 months and counting of 5-figure or more months, right? Is anybody interested in that, having 23 months and more of at least 5 figures? I mean, right? That'd be exciting in our world. So leverage is taking your knowledge and getting it out to a number of people in a number of different ways, and not making yourself busy or crazy or wild or running from here, running to there, and doing all these nutty things. There's a system that you can follow so you don't feel overstressed, so you don't feel overwhelmed, so that it is easy. It's when you know a system. Somebody asked a question yesterday, how do I know who do I listen to? Was it
Abby.
Abby, yeah. How do I know? How do I know? It's like, find somebody, listen to that one person, because they've got a system that got them to where they are, that got them to inside your email box, because they're in a whole lot of other people's email boxes. Find that one person, because they've learned how to leverage what they know, and pay attention to them and model them. So, I mean, that's leverage, plain and simple.
Now, I've never been a parent, although I was in a relationship a while ago with little 4 kids running around, but that's a different story too. So
a lot of stories.
But I don't understand, I don't have the same sense that you that are parents have of having somebody look into your eyes and think of the world of you as a parent. Okay, I haven't had really that experience. I have had 14-year-olds first think I have 3 heads, and by the course of a school year think that I'm an awesome teacher, or I'm the worst teacher they've ever had. It's one or the other. I want you to have influence in your marketplace. I want people to look up to you and see the status that you've achieved in a short period of time. And I don't know if you want that kind of status or not. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if you want to be the go-to person in your niche, in your expertise area, you have to be willing to take on that level of influence and be willing to stand out from the crowd. If you want to generate business for yourself, you want to have a stable, growing business, you're going to have to accept the mantle of influence. And it's amazing what happens because of that. The opportunities and the income that come from it are extraordinary. And nobody knows opportunities that pop up better than Felicia. And us being here actually is certainly a sign of opportunity showing up when you know what we're talking about.
Okay, we're going to tell that story.
Yep.
So, all right, this is has anybody heard of me more than a year ago, other than Shannon Cherry, who I've known for a couple of years from Rise, right? Nobody, you met October, okay. So within the last year, I've become pretty visible in the world of internet marketing. That's not really an accident. Last July was my first live event, July of 2008. And it was a seminar. It was in my own backyard in Chicago. And so I said, gosh, this looks like something I want to go to. Well, at that point, I had been speaking in my community. I'd been, as I mentioned before, a teacher of public speaking. I'd been speaking for over 30 years. I started when I was 7, really, I did. Every job I ever had involved me standing up in front of people. This is something that I feel comfortable with, and I do. I love it, and I know it. Well, I had an opportunity at that first live event. I was just a regular attendee, just kind of hanging out in the crowd. And I had 2 chances to be on stage. 2. One night, they were doing a bonus session with Simon, who we saw yesterday, Simon Leung and Joel Comm, and they were talking about the 2 sides of Google. And so we were all kind of hanging out and waiting for the technical stuff to get ready, and they said, well, while we're waiting, we'll take some questions. Similar to what we did yesterday, but a lot more informal. And so the speakers were all standing up on the stage, and were you up there at that point?
No, I wasn't there.
That was his first event where he was speaking. So a bunch of the speakers were standing up, and it was a very informal thing, and somebody raised their hand, and they said, how can I be credible online? Well, my signature speech was called Credibility and Cash Flow. And I'm thinking to myself, I know the answer. I know the answer. I know the answer. So I listened to all the astute speakers give their answers, and they were all right. It was all right. Joel Comm knows how to be credible, but he didn't know the formula that I know, that I teach. And so I'm on the edge of my chair, and I'm thinking, okay, they haven't started the video yet. I'm not really going to be interrupting anybody. And so I kind of raised my hand sheepishly and said, I know the answer. Could I help? And they said, well, come on up. So I came up and I started, and I'm going to share with you what I said in just a couple of minutes. There were people taking notes, and by the end of my couple of minutes where I answered the question, all these speakers, high-level folks, are all leaning over like this, and Joel Comm goes, and who are you again? Not me. So it was so cool. And then I met Ken at that same event. And we chit-chatted, and by the way, take advantage of that time that you could have with Ken after the event tomorrow, tonight, if you can, if you run into him tomorrow at breakfast. Ken is somebody who will listen to you, and he will help you create massive impact. I'm here because of Ken McArthur. We talked at the networking event. I know, I love Ken. Ken, if you can hear me, I love you. So I'm here because he actually invited me on the stage during his talk. That was when Frank mentioned about how he didn't have a PowerPoint, and then Frank's PowerPoint kind of fizzled yesterday. So he invited me on the stage, and he asked me a question, and I got to answer again. So now here I am, an attendee at an event. Because I had my signature speech ready to go, I had delivered it a bunch of times, I'm comfortable with the information, I was able to create impact on that room. And guess what? Ever since that day, 3 weeks later, I was on Ken's stage as a featured presenter at the Impact Bootcamp. 3 weeks later. I have not been off stage internet marketing ever since. I am booked through the end of this year on teleseminars. I have to turn people down. Anybody want to be able to turn people down because you're so busy doing the things that you love and creating the massive impact? You have to pick between opportunities? That's what I'm talking about. It's so cool.
Fantastic. And there we go. Who should be doing the Teach for Profit model? You should. Mickey is pointing at you. All of you. Mickey
we're
wants
at Disney World. We had to do the Disney
Yeah, we had.
thing.
I know it's corny and all, but it's such a cool graphic for being where we are. But here's the thing. If you have something to say, obviously, teaching for profit is cool. But it goes beyond that. If you're a service professional and you want more clients, you should be doing what we do because it attracts more people to you, and you don't spend as much time doing lead generation. Any of you trying to get more clients to service as a coach or as some form of a local provider? Okay? Giving your speech in person or on the phone lets you take 1 hour of your time and get people to be knocking on your door instead of you knocking on theirs. Okay? If you have a book in you or you've already written a book, I know many of you have already written books, you already have CDs, you already have materials that you're trying to sell more of. How many of you are like this, please? Raise your hands. By teaching what you know and explaining how you came up with the concept, how you created what you did, and giving people the chance to ask you questions, you have the opportunity to teach for profit. Okay? And if you have been spending your time with a certain type of skill set, you might even be completely burned out of a JOB. Anybody ever been burned out of a JOB before? Give yourself a couple months distance and come back to it because it's what you know really well, and figure out a way to teach that stuff instead of doing that stuff. People want to know that, especially these days. If you can give people skills that they can make money from, or that they can save money from, or they can lose weight from, or they can have a better life, or they can have a better relationship with their kids, they're going to be willing to pay for that. And if they are not willing to pay for it, our method will show you that fast, so you don't invest a lot of time and energy before realizing it's a bad business model. Because not every bit of knowledge is going to be something you can charge for, to be completely honest. But you can find that out very quickly through our method, and then kind of twist it and turn it to the path that really will result in the kind of trajectory and the success that you want.
Okay, so credibility. Remember I said they asked the question about credibility? And by the way, as teachers, Bob and I like to give content, so this is where we start to get excited, because we're going to give you some usable stuff that you can take back and have right now. So does that sound good to you? You want to be able to have some information you can use on the spot? Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about the 3 C's of credibility. Competence, character, and charisma. Competence, character, and charisma. Now, by the way, I did not write these 3 C's of credibility. These come from an author, 2 authors, Adler and Rodman, in a book called Understanding Human Communication. Understanding Human Communication, Adler and Rodman. Okay, so these aren't my C's. By the way, the reason I tell you that is, do I look less knowledgeable now that I have just said I'm citing a book? I don't think so. Okay, if you know stuff, cite it. Talk about where do you know these things from, because guess what? That's the first C. Is competence. Are you competent? What are you good at? Okay, the definition of competence, again, according to Adler and Rodman in the book, Understanding Human Communication, is your expertise on your subject area. Your expertise on your subject area. What makes you an expert? Okay, what makes you an expert? Think about that. How can you communicate to other people that you are an expert in what it is that you do? I'm going to open this up and ask you, how can you communicate to other people that you're an expert? What do you think would be some ways you could do that? So talk about your past successes. Great. Who else? Substance. Say more about that.
Well, they've got the substance of what you're saying. They've got a sense that there's substance there.
Yes, they've got a sense that, okay, this is somebody more than just a salesperson trying to sell me something. You've got to convince them that you know something. Absolutely.
So that you have an advanced college degree or a written book.
Yeah, if you've got any kind of credentials behind you, we started our first slide. We both have some alphabet soup after our names. We know stuff, and that's okay. It's okay. You know, there's some places in the world that they say, well, gosh, who needs all that alphabet soup? But guess what? It adds to your credibility. Now, you don't lead with that, hi, Felicia Slattery, 2 master's degrees. I mean, that's weird. But, you know, where could you put that kind of stuff? Well, you put it on your bio page. You put it on your business card. Okay, you put it on your first slide if you're doing a presentation, so that it's just kind of there, and people can see, okay, this is somebody who knows what they're talking about. What else? You said books, books that you've done. If you've written any books, let people know you've written a book. That's pretty cool stuff if you've done that.
Public speaking itself, just getting out there and doing it, lets people know that you have something to say, and especially when you provide them the aha moment.
Thank you for singing my song. Yes, when you are the one standing in front of the room full of people, that means somebody believed in you enough to say, hey, can you get up there and teach my folks something? That, in and of itself, boosts your credibility through the roof. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Tell your own story if you're overcoming a problem that people can experience and you overcame that particular problem in your own life. Telling your story, I think, is a great power.
We love stories. That's why we tell stories. People will remember your story more than they'll remember your bullet points. So share your story because they will remember the feelings. See, we, as human beings, this is the oldest form of communication, is telling stories. Okay? Before there were books, there was prehistory. The prehistory was passed on through storytelling. That's how we remember things as human beings. So they're not going to necessarily remember your bullet points, but they will remember your stories. If there's learning in the story, then they'll be able to take that with them. They'll internalize that because that's an emotional learning. Emotional learning is an important concept. And when you can teach people from an emotional level, they're going to get it. They're going to get that aha. Okay, I saw a couple other hands. One other, yes?
Demonstrate your competence in front of them. Produce a result, and they'll remember that too.
Yes, produce a result, and they will remember that. Absolutely. So those are some great ways you guys came up with for how you can communicate your competence. All right, the second C of credibility is character. Character, and the whole definition isn't up there. It's the audience's perception. Now, in communication and public speaking, we talk about audience, okay? In marketing, we call it your target market, we call it your niche. Call it whatever you want, it doesn't matter. The people you're talking to, okay? So it's your audience's perception. And I'm going to come back to that perception thing in a little bit, I promise. It's your audience's perception of your honesty and impartiality. Your honesty and impartiality. Now, how can you, what would be some ideas about how you can let people know that you're honest or impartial? Anybody? Roberto? Testimonials from other people that say, yeah, this person's an honest person. Good. What else? Oh, citing your sources, maybe like I did before. Shows that you're an honest person. I didn't make this up, by the way, but I know where to go. Does that make you look less competent? No, it makes you look like you're a person of character, because now I'm not stealing somebody's stuff. I'm not plagiarizing. I'm sharing information, and I'm telling you freely where I got it from. Absolutely. Anybody else? Ideas on character? Be yourself. Yeah, please don't try to be somebody else. Please. That's one of the biggest mistakes that honestly I see in public speaking, is that people they'll hear a speaker, they'll see a speaker, and they'll say, oh, I really like that person's style. And they try to be that person on stage. It never works out, ever. Just got to be yourself. Yes, ma'am. Yes, do your business with integrity. That's what I call that. Do your business with integrity. Do not let anything stop you from doing your business with integrity. If you promise someone you're going to send them an email today, when do you think you better get that email out? Hello, right? And if you're not so sure you can get it today, promise it by tomorrow or the next day. And when you get it to them today, now you're starting to pull on that little red cape because you're the superhero. Wow, you promised it tomorrow and I have it today? You're so cool. Thanks. Okay, that's why, honestly, that's one of the cool things about having an autoresponder. That's that immediate gratification. Isn't that cool? I mean, we live in that world. Isn't it cool? You put your name in, you get something. Right away it shows up. And don't you find yourself a little bit irritated when it takes AWeber like 10 minutes to get you the thing, and you're like, come on, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? We like that, right? So do your business with integrity. Don't let anything stop you from delivering on your promises. Okay, another thing that you can be doing to show you that you're a person of honesty and impartiality, a good character, is speak positively of your competition, please. Speak positively of your competition. You know, when you're out in the job world and you're going for a job, what's one of the things they tell you when they ask you the question, so why did you leave your last job? If you left your last job because your boss was a jerk and you worked with a bunch of idiots, do you say that in the interview? No, why not? Because who looks like the jerk or the idiot? Hello? You don't say that, even if it's true. Even if your boss was a jerk and they were kind of idiotic people. You can't say that, okay? It's the same thing when somebody says, well, why is your service or product better than anybody else's? You can't say, well, you know, that other guy, he's a liar and a jerk. Do you know what he does? Have you seen him do? Who looks like the negative person, right? Who looks like the person that you shouldn't be doing business with? So you want to speak positively of your competition because guess what? It reflects positively on you. So you find something good to say, even if that person really is kind of a shyster. Okay? Find something positive to say. You know, I really love their logo. That's cool stuff. I've been to that site. It's so easy to navigate. Whatever. Find something positive to say and then turn the conversation back to you. You know, or that person's been in business for a while. They must be doing some things that are really good. Let me tell you a little bit more about what I have to offer and why this is going to work better for your situation. And then now you've said something positive and you've brought it back to you. Okay, so speak positively of your competition. Do business with integrity. And the last point I want to make about character is please be professional at all times, even if you're singing karaoke at 2 o'clock in the morning. Be professional if you can. Quick story about that. A couple of years back when I was getting started, I bought something online, go figure, right? Bought something online, and with the follow-up of the product, the person said, if you have any questions, send me an email. Great, well, I had a couple of questions. So, you know, dear so-and-so, thank you so much for this product. I'm really looking forward to it. I started to dig in, and I have 3 questions. And I numbered them out, 1, 2, and 3. And by the way, these were yes or no questions. It wasn't going to take somebody, you know, a dissertation to write an answer, because we've all gotten those emails where it's like, oh, you want me to coach you for free in an email. 3 quick little questions, yes or no. And then sincerely, Felicia Slattery, you know, my little signature at the bottom. The email I got back, frankly, was shocking. There was no, dear Felicia, thank you so much for your purchase. It just jumped right into the message. as if we'd been having an ongoing conversation back and forth, ping-ponging on email. We've had those. That's okay if you're ping-ponging on email with a friend. But somebody who's just purchased something from you, who's pretty much a stranger, you want to start off with a little nicety, right? So there was none of that. And the message actually said, either you want this or you don't. Hello? Okay. I'm the client. I just bought something and I get this message. Was I a little upset? Maybe. So what do we do when we're upset? I can't believe I had to do you. Then hit, go ahead and do that. Write that nasty gram back, and then hit delete, 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 delete. Because what I ended up doing is I ended up reframing that nasty gram, and then I sent it off to a friend outside of the situation and said, do I sound snarky? Or is this acceptable? Does this sound like something that, is okay? And she said, yeah, it's okay. Take out the word frankly. I said, okay. Took out a couple of words, and then I sent it on. We went around and around. And here's, by the way, here's another little side tip. That person thought that either you want it or you don't was funny. She thought she was funny. Humor doesn't come across in email with strangers, so there's a little hint with that. So don't try to be funny unless people know you're a comedian and you're being funny. This was not that kind of a situation. But and by the way, she thought she was doing something right because she was on the telephone when she replied to my message. Here's another little tip for you. Multitasking does not exist. There's no such thing as multitasking. You can do one thing at a time. When you have multiple projects happening simultaneously, like you're on the phone, like you're sending an email and you're tweeting, and your focus is being drawn in a number of different places, you're not doing multiple things at once, you're doing one thing at a time, switching very quickly in between. Okay? When you focus on one thing, maybe you can say, perhaps I should send a message that says, dear new customer, thank you so much for your product. And you can think about the ramifications of what you're doing. So that's another little side tip. Anyway, I remain professional as the person who was wronged. Here's the best part of the story. We went around and around and we resolved it. 3 months later, I offered my very first paid teleseminar. She signed up and brought 3 friends who signed up also. I made some money from being professional as a person who was wronged. When you are professional at all times, people will respect you. And we did go around and around. I was professional, but I let her know that I wasn't real happy with that response. But I did it in a way that maintained the relationship. You want to maintain relationships. It shows you're a person of good character. The third C of credibility is charisma. Charisma. And this is the audience's perception. There's that thing again. I promise I'll come right back to that. The audience's perception of your enthusiasm. Woohoo! You got to say that with enthusiasm. And likability. Okay, your enthusiasm and likability. All right, how do you think, I'm going to ask you again, how do you think you can let some people know that you're enthusiastic and likable without saying woohoo? Anybody? How do you think? How easy is that? Smile. And by the way, okay, there's a few things you can do because a lot of us are using the internet to create our impact. A few things you can do with smiling. Obviously going to live events and meeting people. How are you? It's so good to see you, Roberto. Okay, so smile is great when you meet somebody. That's kind of a no-brainer, obvious. But when you're on the phone, when you're doing a teleseminar, when you pick up the phone, when somebody calls you, smile first. It comes across in your voice. A smile comes across in your voice every time. So do that. Make sure your photograph that you're using in social media on your website, please smile in that photograph. Okay? Please. And by the way, in social media, you should be using a photograph of your face. Okay? You don't want a picture of your dog, however cute your dog is. You don't want a picture of your kids, however cute your kids are. You don't want your logo, no matter how much money you spent on it and how cool it is. People want to connect with other people. Okay, we like those we can create a connection with. So have a picture of yourself and smile in that picture, okay? Even if you're not a smiley person, even if you hate your smile, because people will like you. There's an instantaneous, the smile is the only form of nonverbal communication that is constant around the world. Am I right, Dr. Capps, who teaches communication? The smile Am I right? Thank you so much. You were leaving me hanging. I thought, well, does he know something I don't know? Also a communication professor at college. So the smile is the one form of nonverbal communication that is consistent in all cultures around the world. You lead with a smile, people will like you. They're drawn to you. Okay, do a business, do what you do with passion and excitement. People are drawn to passion. We haven't heard a lot about passion this weekend, have we? We haven't. Usually not enough. Usually you hear a lot from speakers about passion, right? You can't say enough. Can you tell I'm a little excited about this stuff? I'm just saying, right? People are drawn to that passion. Whatever it is you're excited about, they're drawn into that. Okay? They'll want to listen to you. If you're excited about Milo, he's excited about his stuff. Okay? You want to hear what people have to say, and people will want to hear what you have to say. So passion, smiling, and make direct eye contact. Eye contact is the last piece of likability. In the United States, Western culture, we make eye contact. Other cultures, they're a little different. Okay? Can't always be making eye contact, but here we're talking U.S., that's pretty much, and Western cultures. Direct and sustained eye contact is another thing, right? Because we're taught that our eyes are our windows to the soul. Okay? And we want to connect on a soul level with other people. We want to connect on a soul level with other people. Okay? You need to make eye contact to do that. Oh, I've heard some of the goofiest things in public speaking. You should look at the back of the room. You should look at people's foreheads. You should picture them naked. Ugh, I don't want to see anybody in their skivvies. I mean, really. Right? So you look at somebody's eyes and connect with them wherever they are in the room. Face to face, obviously, you want to be looking directly in someone's eyes. Okay? And online, again, when you're doing videos, look directly at the little lens. Don't be looking at your screen, reading on your screen, and the lens is up here. Doesn't that feel disjointed to you when you land on a site and the person is doing a video and they're reading from the screen, but they're not looking at you? It feels disjointed. But when they're looking right at the lens, they feel that connection. So you can do this online as well. And again, your picture with your face and the smile, you should be looking directly at the lens. People will get the sense that they are connecting with you directly, and you need that connection to be credible. Know, like, and trust. You've heard it over and over again. People do business with those they know, they like, and they trust. Credibility is the know, the like, and the trust. Now, I promised I'd come back to the final piece, the audience's perception. Okay, the audience's perception. Perception is important, but even more important is the audience, your target market, your niche. It doesn't matter what your mother thinks of what you're doing in your business, because guess what? Mine is on my list, and she'll say, you know, Felicia, I don't think you should be saying that. Da, da, da. Thank you, Mom. You're not my ideal target market. Okay? It doesn't matter what your family or your friends think about your message or what you're doing. What matters are the people who are interested in buying your products and services and doing business with you. The people who want what you have to offer. The people who want to know what you know in your mind. The people you can best teach to create a massive impact on them and their lives. Those are the people who you need to reach out to. It's their perception. How do you figure out what do they think and what do they know? You ask them. That's crazy. Ask them. Number of different ways you can ask people questions. Twitter is just beautiful. Ask people a question on Twitter, you'll get an answer. You'll know within 5 minutes the answer to some kind of question. You can do a survey. You can create a survey on surveymonkey.com for free. And you can get up to 100 responses for free. And if you don't have a list of people to send that survey out to, go to Twitter, go to Facebook. Send it out to your family and friends and say, hey, do you know anybody who is XYZ? Send this to them, please, and ask them to answer that question. You'll get answers. That's how I started in my business. I had 50 people on my subscriber list. I was pretty excited about my 50 people. And I created a survey. Because I started off in relationships, teaching people how communication is business and personal, right? So I started off with the personal track. And I found out that the people that were reading my survey were most interested in more effective communication for their business. That's what they wanted to pay money for. So I said, easy. Listening is good listening whether you're listening to your spouse or you're listening to your clients. So I just changed the context, and boom, my business took off. Why? Because I listened and paid attention to my audience. You want to do that. You want to listen and pay attention to your audience because it's their perception that matters and that's going to get you successful in your business.
So that was the who, and I hope that you picked up from what Felicia just told you and taught you that you have to be that person people are turning to. So it's a matter of confidence and that credibility. So make sure you internalize that. Now let's talk a little bit about the where. Where should you teach what you know? Where is that audience going to be? Where are they lining up? Money in hand, or money in pocket at least, to take what you have to tell them and to form some form of transaction with you. Your audience could be your local town. Some of you are doing local services. Michael Savoy is doing some blogging services for local businesses. You're going to learn later today from Mr. David Preston about more of that kind of thing. So your audience can be a local organization.
Okay, wait, I have to say something.
Here we go again with the local organizations.
Well, it's true. All right, think about this for a second, because a lot of us, myself included, we're on the internet and we're trying to reach millions of people all over the world. That's outstanding, right? But think about this for a second. If everybody in just your town, where you live, called you tomorrow because they needed you to do what you do best for them, could you handle the business? If every person just in your town wanted you to do whatever it is you do best for them tomorrow, every person who needed you, you could not. Could you handle the business? You couldn't. That's a good problem to have. Just in your town. Now take the town next to you, the town next to that, your surrounding areas. Pick whatever driving distance is for you, whatever you're comfortable with, okay? Become a rock star in your own community, in your own town, and guess what that does? It catapults you to the next level in a hurry. So don't discount, just because we do stuff on the internet, don't discount the area around you, because it really gives you experience, it gives you leverage, it gives you income opportunities, so that then you can take advantage of the cool stuff that the internet allows and take that then to the next level. So yes, in your community is huge. I had to say that, I'm sorry.
No problem. Raise your hand, please, if you're in your Chamber of Commerce, if you're a member of your local Chamber of Commerce. Wow. All of you should be raising your hand, in my opinion. That's a great piece of credibility. Typically, you can even put the badge of your Chamber of Commerce on your website. It's a great way for people to know, like, and trust you quickly, especially in your local business community, because they know that means that you're serious. And it's, what, a couple $100 a year, depending on where you are? Great way to get yourself into that audience, local service clubs, etc. But perhaps your audience is not in your local market. When I first started information marketing, I was teaching 40, 50, 60 hours a week, half of which was grading, half of which was actually in front of students. Danielle, you know this quite well. How many other teachers are there in the room, past or present?
A lot.
A lot of teachers. Hopefully the next time I ask that, all of you will be raising your hands at some level, because you will be teachers too. But the point is that I didn't have time to go find my local meetings. I didn't have time to drive. I didn't have time to schedule that. What I had time for was picking up the phone and realizing that the audience could be anywhere around the world. We were at an event a week ago she wasn't, but I was at an event in California with Adam Urbanski, who you'll be hearing from in a little bit. And there was a woman there from Singapore, and she had been on my teleseminars, and she was thanking me for the kind of work that I do. So your audience doesn't have to be in your local community. It can be anywhere. And the cool thing about that is there's no travel. The cost of doing it has become basically zero. And your audience feels very connected to you, even though you're miles and miles away. Now, there's no substitute for being right in front of somebody, making eye contact directly. But you want to talk about leverage? Get on the phone with people around the world, even if there's just a couple of people. Your audience can be wherever they happen to be. So the next question is, what kind of lifestyle do you want to have to teach what you know for profit? Some of you like to be under the radar. Some of you like to be behind the scenes. And so you might not want to be in front of a group of people like we are doing today. The number one fear in this country is public speaking, right?
Okay, so that was a study done in the early 70s called the Bruskin Report, the number one fear of most Americans. I see the citing the source stuff. So that was a study that was done back then. And to my knowledge, there haven't been any studies done since then. But let me tell you, as someone who's been teaching public speaking for many, many years, it may not be the number one fear, but it's got to be in the top 5 to 10. You know what I'm saying? Anybody a little nervous possibly to have to stand up in front of an audience? Couple people. So the rest of you are ready to go.
Awesome.
I love that about you.
Awesome.
All right.
So the lifestyle can be, if you want to be a rock star in your niche, go out there and be in public, be on stage, but also pick up the phone and knock things out. If you want to be speaking every weekend, that's a great way to see the world. It's kind of tiring. If you have a family, you might want to adjust accordingly. But you know what? Being in front of people and having that status of being an internationally known speaker, as Felicia is and I will soon be, because I haven't spoke yet in
Canada.
other places like Canada, or I hope to do one in Poland sometime soon. But you have to decide your lifestyle and how you're going to approach that. But the beauty of what we teach is you can create something that one time, as we mentioned, and it can serve as your teaching tool for a long time. So you don't have to do this on a regular, every weekend basis. You can do it once or twice a year if you wanted to. Depends on what you're after. And so that gets us to the formats. Where do you want your knowledge to be given to the other people? Do you want to be in front of people speaking? Do you want to be in a small group workshop? Do you want to write a book and take what you know and dump it into pages and pass it around and sell it in bookstores or on Amazon or on ebooks? Do you want to pick up the phone and use teleseminars? Do you want to demonstrate something visually on the screen through webinars? My main format for me personally is teleseminars and webinars. I like to show people the step-by-step ways of doing things. Anybody in here watched one of my video tutorials or been in one of my virtual courses? I hope that you've enjoyed them.
They're so good. They are good.
And the point is that helps me to demonstrate. I don't have to come to your house and stand over your shoulder and do thing one-on-one. I don't mind doing that so much, but I don't need to, because there are technology tools out there that allow you to record yourself doing that same thing. And now everybody can see it and benefit from it. And instead of being paid one time $100 or $200 or $500, you can be paid thousands of times $25. I don't know about you, but that sounds like more money and more influence and more results to be able to do that. Okay? So think to yourself and keep having this conversation with yourself over time of what kind of lifestyle do you want and how do you want to deliver your message. If you want to deliver your message in a certain way, go for it. If it doesn't work for you, change it. There's at least 10 different ways you can teach what you know for profit. I was just at a boot camp. There's 130 people there. Each of us paid, $2,000. It's a nice little payday. Sets you up for a few months to get the rest of it together. But guess what? The recording of that is also a product. Going on a teleseminar and recording it, that's a product. Speaking right now, we're recording this. Ken is recording this. It can be a product that you either sell or you give away, or you package with other things. You bonus in order to get the incentive for someone to buy something else. So the where matters. The where matters. So we need to talk more specifically now about two things: signature speech and a teleseminar. So signature speech.
Okay, so a signature speech is not a hula. It's a persuasive presentation that you prepare to market your business to a live audience filled with your ideal target market. Okay, this is either in person or through a teleseminar. Okay, so this is the definition of a signature speech. I created this definition. If you Google, I'm pretty excited about this. If you Google signature speech, I'm all over page 1, me and Barack Obama. I know. And he's at the bottom at space number 8. So this is my term, signature speech, okay? And I'm gonna break it down real briefly for you. So the persuasive presentation. As marketers, we know persuasion is a good thing. But there's a lot of people who think, oh, persuasion? Really? No, man. I have to twist somebody's arm to listen to me and do stuff? Oh, no. Okay, think about persuasion as motivation. If you're one of these people who thinks, I don't want to persuade anybody, okay? If you're a marketer and you're an inherent salesperson, you're already excited right now, because I said persuasion. Yeah, what can we persuade people to do? Think about it as motivating someone. You're motivating your audience, you're motivating your prospect, you're motivating your target audience to do something. What do you want them to do? Okay, you want them to sign up for your subscriber and become in part of your community. You want them to buy your products and services. If you want someone to do something, by definition, you're persuading them. By definition, okay? And here's a little side academic note. There are multiple different formats you can put together a speech in. If you're not using a persuasive format, that inherently is directed to making people do something at the end, to making people act, you're not taking full advantage of the medium, public speaking. Okay? There's a direct method. That's why I use the word persuasion, because there's 3 purposes to public speaking: to persuade someone, to inform someone, and to entertain someone. And yeah, most speeches can have each of those 3 parts. Okay? If you're persuading someone, if you're persuading people, isn't it nice to give them some information? As an audience member, isn't it nice to be able to get information that you can actually use on the spot? Hello. Right? You don't want to be sold to. Your signature speech is not a speech that is a 30 to 60 minute sales pitch. It's a speech that has content that people can use, okay, on the spot. You want to give content. That's what we do. We teach. So you're teaching in your signature speech. So it's not an elevator pitch. It's not a 30-second thing. You certainly could use your signature speech in your elevator pitch. You can let people know that, hey, I have a speech to market my business. In fact, you don't have to say to market my business. I have a speech about XYZ topic that gives XYZ benefit to ABC audience. That can be when people say, hi, who are you and what do you do? People ask me all the time, Felicia, I got a direct message tweet today. Felicia, I'd like some more speaking opportunities. What are you doing? I let people know I'm a speaker. Step 1. Okay? Say it with me. We saw Brendan Burchard do this. I'm not stealing somebody's shtick. I'm going to tell you. We saw Brendan Burchard do this. I'm a speaker. Everybody else, say it with me. I'm a speaker.
I'm a speaker.
Oh, that was weak. I'm a speaker.
I'm a speaker.
That's right, you are. Make sure people know you're a speaker, because guess what? Bob and I are up here today because there was a spot to be filled. And Ken McArthur said, who could I ask to speak? I know a couple people who are speakers. And here we are. Okay? That's an opportunity. That is an immediate opportunity. If you have a speech ready to go at a moment's notice, and people know that you have information to share that's going to be valuable for their audience, you will be asked. I promise. Okay? So it's a persuasive presentation. We want people to do something when we're done. You're marketing your business. And by the way, let's talk about marketing your business. It's free. Delivering your signature speech doesn't cost you a dime. It doesn't cost you a dime. In fact, you don't have to be a member of every single chamber. You don't have to be a member of all these different other networking organizations and groups, okay? You get to go for free to these events. And you get to network with a room full of people, your ideal target market, by the way, all of the people who are interested in what you have to share, for free. You don't have to pay. And you basically are speaking for about an hour. It's not a large time investment. As a mom, somebody who wants to be home primarily with my kids most of the time, I've only started this traveling thing recently. I've spent the last couple of years doing things locally. And I'll spend an hour, I'll take about a half hour to get there, I'll chit-chat with people. So about a couple hours of investment. I can get an entire room full of people to do what I want them to do every single time. I get 100% conversion rates. I teach people how they can get 100% conversion rates also. Yes, I know it sounds hypey. If you saw that on a sales page, you'd be like, whatever. But there's a method, because you're following a formula. That's the signature speech formula. When you follow the formula, you get the results. It's that simple. Just like when you follow a recipe, okay? Just like when you follow a recipe. At the end, you put all the ingredients in, you mix them up the right way. Out at the other end, you get what you get whatever it is that you're baking, okay? Same thing with a signature speech. So marketing. Live audience, your ideal target market, in person or through a teleseminar. Okay, you want to be reaching people either on the phone directly. It's the most powerful form of communication, is human being to human being, whether you're face-to-face or on the phone. Let's talk about teleseminars.
The teleseminar is often misperceived, and I want to make sure you understand very clearly that it's a much broader term than most people give it credit for. It's any presentation you deliver over the phone or through a microphone, through your computer. It doesn't have to have an audience live. It can actually be delivered you and the computer. This is a term usually called a podcast. You've heard things called conference calls before, or webinars. They're basically the same. But anytime you use your voice to tell information and you distribute it either live or recorded, that is technically, in my mind at least, a teleseminar. What I am very frustrated by with teleseminars that are often taught is they are taught as teleseminars, right? You're going to spend 45 minutes and get great content, and then I'm going to sell you for 15 more minutes. Now, there's nothing wrong with that per se, but it is one thing that drives me crazy because that's what's most often taught. And for those of us in the teaching background or in the softer professions, if you will, we're not born salespeople. Now, some people have been telling me that if you want to teach history to 14-year-olds, you're selling something all the time. But the point is that I'm not comfortable always asking for money at the end of a teleseminar, and I don't think that you should feel that you have to do that for a teleseminar to work. What you're trying to do is bond with your audience, show your credibility, show them the information you're looking for, and making sure that they trust you and they're going to continue to do business with you. Okay? So don't let it be a teleseminar, because the primary thing I want you to take away from what I teach about teleseminars is it's really about having a telefactory. It's really about using your phone as an automated machine to generate content after content after content, creating ebooks and articles and blog posts and CDs and podcasts, etc. Virtual workshops and whatever else you can think of. So after the call is the most important. So I want you to think about having your first teleseminar. Actually, let me have you raise your hand again. If you've done at least one teleseminar, please raise your hand. Okay? If you've never done a teleseminar, but you know that you should at some point in the very near future, okay, great. After the call is the most important. My very first teleseminar, there was 5 people on the line, including myself and my guest. And sometimes the people I teach, their first audience members all share the same last name. And that's okay too. And the way I teach it as well, I get people together who know what the questions is that they want to ask. Some of you have been in my teleseminar formula course. You know that that's a very nice benefit of what connections can be made. So don't treat it as a teleseminar. If you're a good salesperson, use it that way. There's nothing wrong with it. But make sure, as Felicia mentioned, you give great content. You give people that credibility pieces that you're talking about. You hit on the points our gentleman over there said about making sure they come away with something of value, so that if they don't pay you now, they will come back for you at another time. So in our short time, we need to talk briefly about the what and the how you're going to be able to take what you know and teach it for profit.
Really quick, Bob.
Really quick.
I have to say something.
Right. So as she's saying, make sure you write this list down because it's not going to stay up there too long.
That's okay. Listen, so we just did a little time thing because some of you slept in a little. So we waited for you to get here. So we started about 15 minutes late. So we're going to keep going through about 15 minutes past when we were supposed to be done. Is that okay with you guys? So that we get so we don't have to rush through this stuff, and your notes don't go crazy. You can actually have time to take notes. So we're good. The timekeeper's all set, so she knows not to freak us out anymore with a 5-minute clock. So anyway, we just wanted to make sure it's okay with you guys that you'll still get a 15-minute break, I promise, and maybe we'll. I know the person who starts the next thing, so we might even push a little bit longer on the break. But anyway, so we're going to take the time that we need to make sure you get the information that you need and not rush. How about that?
Sounds awesome.
All right, you go.
Okay, so this is the roadmap of teaching for profit. These are the exact steps that you need to be doing, as many of these as possible in the order that you see here.
What would their work be that I'm supposed to be able to see?
We'll get the slides to you if you would like. That's perfectly. I'll be reading them through as well. Thank you for the point. I appreciate it. First, you need to identify what it is that you know that other people want to know. You must identify that monetizable knowledge base that you have that people are asking for. Most of you, it's right under your nose, and you're looking like this at other opportunities to make money from. I mentioned earlier on in the presentation the function F8 key. It was right under my nose. Other teachers wanted to know what I knew for technology. And I wasted a year trying to figure out other ways to make money. I had mentored 6 student teachers. I had been the 2-time state champion of the academic team, coach. I had been on the department leadership. I had been in the county writing curriculum. And I was right under my nose, and I went and looked for other ways to make money.
I did that too.
Everybody seems to do that.
It took a year into me saying I want to be a coach, I was talking to someone and she said, why aren't you a communication coach and teaching public speaking? I said, I don't know. I don't know. Don't waste time looking for all these other things when what you have is right here, right under your nose. Should we ask them to do that little exercise about their topic?
Yeah, go ahead. If you have a topic in mind that people keep asking you questions about, you have a passion, you already have identified a knowledge, go ahead and write down that idea of what it would be that you would like to teach about if you could find a way to monetize it. If you could find a way for people to understand the value that you give and pay you for it, or you're able to connect to someone else who will pay you for teaching them about what they do. Fantastic way for you to grow in your teach for profit model is to identify. This is the most important step. That's why it's number one. You got to identify what people want that you have, because the great thing is when it's coming from you and you have the credibility of your experience and your knowledge, you have a unique selling proposition already built in. Nobody else can be you, and you shouldn't be trying to be anybody else. So when you have that experience of years on a job, or books that you've read, or kids that you've raised, or other experiences that you've had, look to that first. Client after client after client comes to me in my coaching program and they say, I'm trying to build this website in order to make $1 million, in order to have all these members who are going to learn about AdWords and learn about all this other stuff. Nothing against AdWords, but I asked them, how much money have you made from your AdWords campaigns? I've spent about $2,000 actually and haven't made anything back really. Why are you teaching something you have no success in? Danielle Miller over here just did a series on teachers becoming entrepreneurs. Listen to that series. It's quite good. Two especially fantastic
Two
teachers
fabulous
are on that.
guests.
Phenomenal speaker in that series. We're speaking right now at the moment.
So my first attempt was a very similar project called Teachers in Business. I was going to teach teachers around the world how to make money on the internet. And I had made $10 on eBay. Yes! Now I can do it. Back then it didn't work. Okay? So teach what you know. And realize that you probably don't value it as much as the people who don't have that skill. Right? They just don't have the knowledge that you have, and you take it for granted. People are going to be willing to pay for that. You'll probably hear more about that later today as well. A few more steps. How would you go about, or just go ahead and talk about the next couple bullets.
Bob and I are new to working together on stage, so this is only our second time together. What do you think? Is this a good match? Is it working out for you? All right, good. Because I like him, he's so good. All right, so you want to attract an audience. That's the next thing you got to do, right? Because if you don't have an audience to speak to, then guess what? You got nothing. It's just you. Does a tree make the noise in the forest if it falls and nobody's there to hear it? Okay. Do you make money if nobody's there to hear your message? No. So you got to attract your audience. Okay. We talked earlier about audience. We talked about ways, a couple of different options that you can find out what do they want. Forget about what they need. This is a mistake that a lot of people make when you're teaching for profit, to say, well, people need to know this. They only need to know it if they want it. They're not going to buy it unless they want it. That's a distinction. That's an important distinction. You give them what they want, you sneak in what they need. Okay? You give them what you want, and then you're the expert. You're the expert. You know what they need. But find out first what it is that they want. And then within that context, give them the information that you know they need so they can be successful in doing what they want. Okay, it's not a manipulative kind of thing. It's saying, look, you're speaking their language. You have to speak the language of your consumer. You have to speak the language of the people who are going to buy your stuff, who are going to listen to what you're talking about. If you're not speaking their language, you're not going to connect with them. And if you can't connect with them, guess what? Their money stays in their wallet. Okay, so you need to attract your audience. Next piece, you want to develop your presentation. Bob and I both teach separate pieces of that, okay? And I've got a class called a Signature Speech Solutions group, and I teach people that formula, that method, that step-by-step signature speech, okay? You need to develop that presentation. One of the pieces with that is when you're speaking in public, you do things a little bit differently than you do in a teleseminar. So Bob's actually going to come and talk to my group. I'm so excited about that in my program, and he's going to share how do you make the changes for a teleseminar. How do you make those changes? Because there's a little bit of difference. So you've got to develop your presentations. And by the way, you do need to have both. You should have teleseminar format, and you should have a live signature speech so that you are ready to go at a moment's notice for either medium. Okay, so you've got to develop that. Do your presentation. Pick up the phone and do the teleseminar. Stop waiting. Who's going to do? I'm going to do a teleseminar series in about 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months never comes. I'm going to do it. Just do it. Put up the information. Put it out to the world. And like Bob said, get family members to show up. My first seminar that I did, my husband's uncle showed up. That was it. It was me and Uncle Bob. Great. But I recorded it. I took the recording, I took the transcript, turned the transcript into an ebook, sold the ebook, made some money. Hey, that's how it works. Okay? He actually paid. I refunded. I was like, seriously, you're not paying to take my class. Okay.
Don't make that mistake. Take their money. It's okay.
Not from Uncle Bob.
Oh, yeah.
He's taking the money. All right. So, and by the way, there's the next step, monetize. Okay, we've got monetize in here a number of different ways. When we were brainstorming these slides yesterday, we were talking about, well, you know, where should we put the monetize? Well, you monetize a lot. Make the money in a number of different ways at a number of different times. So there's ways that you can make money from the presentation. Then you by the way, you're recording the presentation. You create an info product, whether it's an ebook, whether it's a book, what a home study program, all these different options, okay? Create the info product. Now you monetize the product. So you monetize the presentation, you charge the folks to show up, okay? Then you monetize the info product. You charge the people who weren't smart enough to show up the first time. You get them later on, okay? So you monetize that. Now you come up with a back-end strategy. The first time I heard back-end was over the summer. I was like, the back-end of what are you talking about? That's an internet marketing term, the back-end. What's your back-end? I don't know. So what is that? What does that mean? Well, what I understand it to mean is, what do you do after you sell the information product? You don't want to just leave people hanging. Why? Because this is a hungry market. That person who just bought that information product is someone who is interested to know the information that you have to teach right now. Provide them with an opportunity so they can learn more. Provide them with an opportunity so they can learn more. And by the way, create a winning situation for yourself. I only do business in a win-win way, which means that I'm going to present something that's information that's usable to them, and they're going to pay me for it. That's a winning situation. Okay, you want to set that up for people. You want to provide high-quality information, high-quality products. Okay, your back end should be the next step up. And then what's the step after that? And what's the step after that? Provide people continuing opportunities so that the people who become your raving fans will be able to continue to learn from you. That's what this is about, monetizing. So you want to follow up with your customers and clients. We talk about that all the time. I mean, that's really the key to this. Continue to follow up. Don't sell them the ebook and then just let it drop. Okay, don't sell them the first information product and then let them be on their merry way. Continue to follow up with them. Again, it's vitally important that you follow up regularly. Okay, there's a number of different methods you can do that. You can utilize online and offline methods. Okay, Lee talks about hybrid marketing. Lee Collins, who we heard a little bit about yesterday, okay, he picks up that offline method. There's the online and offline together is a powerful combination. Powerful combination. And there's ways that you can do that really simply. Okay, so, and then continue to monetize long term. Continue to monetize long term. Those are the steps. Did I leave anything out?
No.
All right.
Not at all. Thank you very much. So I want to just add one quick thing, though, and that is that if you're not monetizing your one event of teaching, at least 3 different ways, you're leaving money on the table. And you don't have to actually sell your product to do that. You can be an affiliate for other people. You can have a joint venture relationship where you send people to another product or another coach if you don't have that back end set up yet. But you need to have these things in place as quickly as possible.
You can borrow a back end.
You can borrow a back end.
Yes, you can.
Back end implants. No, that's a different story. So, Here's just a quick rundown as an example of what we're talking about,
Which we know you can't see.
which we know you can't see, but you can see that there are several lines of text. Each bullet is a different website that I've created and released in the last 2.5 years. So the numbers that you see next to it, 10/06, 11/06, 2/07, etc., those are the months and years, all the way up to March of 2009 with the release of Discover Butterfly Marketing. Every single one of those was created from a teleseminar or a teleseminar series, virtual workshop, webinar. And about half of those were paid in advance before I created them. So if you're in that kind of stuck cash flow mode, sell your upcoming teleseminar series or your upcoming speech in front of an audience. I interviewed the wonderful Nicole Dean not too long ago, who's here. Please make sure you have a chance to talk to her on I Am Success Radio. And as people signed up to be reminded about the call, which was free, they had the opportunity to buy transcripts for $7. Guess who didn't have to pay to have his own transcripts done? My audience did. So, you wrote down a moment ago your teleseminar. If you haven't, or your signature speech title. If you haven't already done that, now's your chance to write it down again. And as we get into the how, I want to make sure you understand a central philosophy of mine that everybody I've taught this to absolutely loves, so I hope that you do as well. It's TARL, and it stands for Take Action, Revise Later. Take action, revise later. You're not going to get things perfect. As a matter of fact, with the risk of having you blush, I like to encourage you to think of your first time of doing a teleseminar as losing your teleseminar virginity. Everybody says how wonderful they are. Everybody says how great you'll feel after it's done the first time. Everybody says that you're just going to absolutely love it. And then the reality comes, and maybe it's not so good. Maybe it's a little awkward. Maybe you don't quite know everything that you're supposed to do. Where to push. What to say. But as you practice, it's going to get better. And over time, it's going to get really good. So please.
Bob, the teacher, getting saucy early in the morning. Wow.
Take action and revise later in any avenue of your business. If you grew up in a time where you were working on a typewriter, you probably are overly cautious at what you do because you're used to this idea of having to make the whiteout and the corrective tape and all this other stuff. Those of us who grew up with the delete key and now the undo key, we make mistakes and we just know we can reverse them. Please feel free to make mistakes. Learn from it and go from there. So I want you to imagine yourself in front of your audience in whatever format you choose, taking what you've written down as your topic and teaching it to the rest of the world. And that world may be 5 people at first, and then you record it and it expands to thousands. And then eventually you have dozens of people like we have today in a live audience. And one day, hopefully, if you wish to have it, hundreds if not thousands in your audience, either on the phone or in person. Can you picture that? Can you see yourself being looked up to as a central member of influence of your niche? Someone thanking you after you hang up the phone or after you've given your talk and stepped off the stage and saying, wow, you've really impacted my life. So the only thing that's really remaining is if you want to do it by yourself or you want to have help. Because we've given the steps to you, but we'd like to make it a lot easier and make sure you actually get it done. I know that when I've gone to seminars before, I've got all these ideas, and I don't quite know what to do with them, which step to take first. And how cool would it be to take home a mentor to work with you? So Felicia and I have decided to do something we've never done before. And I'm not saying that for hype reasons or anything like that. This is something that we're testing out because we realized after we've talked before that what people really wanted was some more hand-holding, was some more accountability, and direct interaction with the two of us. So if you want to impact your audience faster, if you want to create products faster, if you want to become known faster, get more exposure on the web so you can get that web traffic we're always trying to chase after. Build a list of responsive people who want what you have to offer. And also to become that recognized expert and get affiliates. I know you've been networking around this room all weekend, and you've been telling people what you're up to, hoping that they'll help you promote it. When you have our formula in place and you can create products, it will never be in doubt again that you don't know what you're talking about. You do know what you're talking about, and people are going to trust that. So if you're ready for that, we can help you. We're going to help you develop that signature speech if you wish to deliver it in person or over the teleseminar. We're going to be able to help you make sure that your presentation is effective from the beginning to the end. We're going to make sure that you can get booked on public as well as virtual events so that people like Danielle Miller and Nicole Dean and all the other people in the room that do teleseminars are going to come to you and say, can you be on my call this week? And hopefully you'll have so many people, you'll have to turn some of them down. That's a great position to be in. And most importantly, we're going to teach you how to leverage that long term. So it's not just the one-time event, but you can learn to package and promote your product long term. We're going to do this in a brand new way. We're going to call it the Teach for Profit system. It's a mastermind system where you and the other people who join us today are going to get together over a course of 4 weeks. We're going to meet on the phone for an hour each session, and we're going to help you to identify what it is that you want to do. We're going to make sure you have the system in place. We're going to make sure you know what to say, when to say it, where to say it, what format to say it in, everything we've talked about today. All those what steps that we talked about, we're going to show you exactly how to do it. We're also going to give you personal access to us, which we prize very highly at this point. Okay? People do, if they have access to us, they pay us hundreds of dollars an hour for our time. We would like to give you 4 30-minute sessions, long enough to get your main questions answered, short enough that you stay focused and we get a lot accomplished.
Each.
You're going to get 4 with her.
4 with him.
And 4 with me. And there's a good chance you're going to like her better or me better.
No, there's not. They're all going to love me better.
Or both. Or her. Regardless. Or irregardless, as we like to say.
Oh, that's not a word.
I know, I'm just kidding. In Felicia's 4 30-minute blocks, you're going to learn how to tell your story, as we mentioned before, how powerful stories can be, pinpoint your credibility. You're going to learn how to develop your signature speech. You're actually going to work with her to make sure that gets done.
That means your speech will be done, and I will help you write it. Do you think it would be valuable to have somebody who's been a speaker for over 30 years, who's been teaching people how to do this since the late 90s, regularly, professionally, and being paid lots of money? Think it would be cool to have me write your speech? You think so? Yes? Anybody? Yeah.
Yes.
Just saying. That's just part of it.
And she mentioned she has a 100% closing ratio in her signature speeches. She's going to teach you how to do that. In my 30-minute blocks, I'm going to help you to plan your teleseminar. I'm going to help you to set up your list so you can attract the people onto your opt-in list. How many of you do not have an opt-in list right now? I will show you how to do that. And if you do have one, I'll show you how to make it better. I'll make sure you can take your audio recording and turn it into products. And I'll also turn the 4th call into making sure you've monetized it effectively. Those are the 3 components of the Teach for Profit system. And we're going to ask you for 5 payments of $997. Our time is $500 an hour, so that's basically, quite a bit of time from us, as well as the masterminding sessions you get with everybody else.
And by the way, the masterminding sessions, that's been a really powerful way that I've been able to grow my business, is I mastermind with, Danielle's in my mastermind group, I mastermind with some people, and I've been masterminding with a couple different folks for the last couple of years. And so we're going to put you're going to be masterminding with groups, and it's not going to be huge groups. It'll be at the most a group of 4 people in your mastermind session. And when we're done with what we're going to be teaching you through those sessions, guess what? Your relationship doesn't end. you can continue meeting with those people regularly so that you can continue to hold each other accountable. You can continue to have each other host each other on teleseminars, interview each other, work with each other, and support each other in your businesses, because it's that support, it's those relationships which is going to help you to continue to excel in your business.
And we know that this is a significant investment, so we need to make sure you understand we guarantee what we do. This process is going to take 30 to 45 days, and so you're going to have that window of time to evaluate what we offer. And if you're not satisfied with the progress you make, get it all back.
Every penny.
Plain and simple. But we do have some more goodies for you.
Yay.
We really want to make sure that if this is something of your interest, that you understand we're going to over-deliver again and again. So she's in the middle, just started Monday, of a course called Signature Speech Solutions. You get that. What was it? How much did you charge for that? $497?
It's $497, but the way they're going to get it, it's a $797.
And it's free.
And it's free.
That's a bonus.
$797, free bonus.
In the middle of May, May 14th through the 21st, I'm teaching the third edition of the Teleseminar Formula Training Camp. Many of you in this room have already taken that. You're going to get that for free as well. That's also $500. And I love this. You're going to be helping people with their speech after they give it.
Yes, this is cool. This is one of the things that I offer to my VIP clients, which you would be, okay? And I'm going to, it doesn't matter what format you use. If you're speaking in public, then get somebody to do a video, just like Bob's got going over here, just like we've got over here. I'll watch your video. I will give you direct feedback on what's working in your presentation, what's not working in your presentation, and exactly step by step what you need to do to fix that. Now, some of you are thinking, well, great, I'm not going to be speaking in front of a live audience. Fine, I'll come and listen to your teleseminar. Okay, I'll give you feedback on what you need to do on a teleseminar so that your presentation can be powerful and the most powerful that it can be so that you get the results that you want. Okay, and I'll do that for you. That's part of what we're going to offer in our bonus. So that's a lot of extra stuff.
And the last piece is I'm going
cool.
to host the teleseminar with you. I'm going to be the one asking you the questions you want me to ask you. I'm going to be the one building up your credibility in your introduction. I'm going to be the one that keeps you on track. I'm going to be the one that helps you close out your information and gets them to take that next step that you want them to take. Whether you do want to have a teleseminar or you want to have them go to another product of yours or go sign up to your list or go take a look at your blog. My second teleseminar I did, I had my mentor interview me, and it propelled me into the stratosphere of internet marketing within weeks of that actual call. Actually months, because it took a while for me to release it. That's a different story. So I'm going to host the call with you. That can be your first call or your 10th call. Anytime in the next 90 days you wish for me to interview you, I will do so and distribute it in the most appropriate way that I can. So we have like -3 minutes left. We want you to picture that you're making that impact, that you're becoming that teacher. Look at that name on the paper that you wrote down at the beginning of our talk, of that teacher's name who impacted your life. Imagine someone else being asked the same question, writing your name down, that you help them in a certain way. If that's what you would like, we'd like to knock off 2 of the payments, bring it down to $997 3 times instead of 5. And if you would like to save even more, 1 payment of $24.97. Let's make a difference together. Thank you very much for joining us today. We'll be in the back of the room to discuss your options, and the order forms are with us there. Thank you very much for your extra time today. We have about 10 minutes of a break. If you can be back for Adam Urbanski, awesome. Please do talk to us. We look forward to working with you.
Let me just borrow one.
Yep.
Just real quick, you definitely want to see these folks.